Hey guys, this is Kintic here with our first video, and it is going to be about our node network and the workers that we utilize. A lot of people have been asking me to put this together for quite some time, so we're finally at it. I apologize for the wait. The one thing I do want to discuss before we actually get into it is that this is a node network that I have worked on for quite some time, and it is something that works for me in my playstyle with my active time and what I do with that material based on alchemy, cooking, as well as processing. The other thing that I wanted to bring up real quick too is that a lot of this is only achievable by me purchasing the Pearl Shop lodging as well as purchasing some Pearl Shop storage. So reason for the storage, of course, is that way we don't have to invest as much contribution into storage and utilize that contribution more for lodging as well as node investment to pick up that additional material. And then a lot of the lodging is picked up, of course, for the same reasons, except for potentially Velia is an exception where it kind of lets us get additional workers that is not achievable because of the low lodging cap in Velia. So we'll get it kicked off in Velia real quick. And the one thing that I want to discuss is that we are going to do this a little bit different than probably a lot of other videos that you've seen from other people. And we're going to go not only by the nodes that we're getting in the region, but we're going to do it by the nodes that we are taking with our workers from that region. The material that we're obtaining from each one of these nodes, if you guys look in the description down below, I will have a Google Doc for you guys, and it's going to have every node based by region and the material that you get from those nodes. And I also have it broken down for what I do with all that material. There is some additional things that you can do with that material, but it is what I see more valuable with the time investment as well as marketplace value or trade-in value if you're going to look into trade crates. So get it kicked off with my Velia workers, which you can only obtain 11. That is based on the Velia room 1, 2, and 3, and which a lot of people tend to miss is Tuscany Farm actually does have 2 additional workers that you can pick up for 3 contribution. So in Velia, what we end up doing is we end up picking up Iwa's Hill for the ash timber and sap, Goblin Cave for the copper and ash timber. We go to Balenos Forest for just the ash timber and spirit's leaf. Come over here to Coastal Cave for our iron ore, copper ore. Coastal Cliff for the iron ore. Move over to Wolf Hills for ash timber. We'll come down to Imp Cave for the copper ore, both nodes. Then move down a little bit to Forest of Seclusion, and we're only going to pick up this 1 copper ore. Now, many people are going to talk and say, hey, you know, why don't you use Ovia for workers to pick up a couple of these nodes over here and potentially pick up Velia for your potato and eggs? And we'll get that down to that in Heidel, and I'll show you guys why I do not take that. So talking about Heidel, we'll move down here, and in Heidel we have 24 workers, or 23, my apology. So in Heidel is my main hub. What I mean by that is it is my main town that I do all my cooking, all my alchemy in. And if I'm going to do any selling of the cooking or alchemy, this is the town I do it in. So when going from a main hub, for convenience reasons for myself, I tend to like to try to have all the material flood into that town and not have to worry about transporting it and moving material around and cluttering up my transport queue or having to run from town to town and bring the material over. So we'll swing back up to Velia, and I will explain to you why I'm sending Heidel workers to Velia to pick up this material. So with our Heidel workers, we're actually picking up the Bugia farm for our potato, our Telly farm for potato and eggs, and Finto Farm for our potato and eggs. We are also going to Forest of Plunder for the arrow mushrooms, Balenos Forest for sunrise herb, Tuscany Farm for the 2 corn nodes, back into Forest of Seclusion for our maple timber, and into Ancient Stone Chamber for our Trace of Earth and Trace of Ascension. Oh, like I mentioned, there is a reason that I do this, and a big reason of it is for a convenience factor. The other reason is the time difference from a Velia worker to a Heidel worker going to these nodes isn't that significant, and I like more of having the convenience of having everything coming into one town instead of having to worry about transporting it or moving it around. To kind of show an example of this morning, I had all my workers stop so I can move some workers around and take a couple of screenshots and show you guys. So this is one of my best Velia workers as an artisan goblin on a potato farm node, and actually on Bartelli farm to be precise. So as you can see, it has a work speed of 145.72 with a movement speed of 7.74, and I'm still rolling it to pick up farm knowledge. And we're not going to get really too much into the skills in depth here, but you can see that the time in itself is 21 minutes and 52 seconds. Now, if we move over and we hover over one of my Heidel workers, my fastest Heidel goblin worker, and same thing, it does not have farm knowledge and pretty decent skills as well, 142.15 and movement speed of 7.66. So relatively somewhat the same, a little less stats, but the skills in itself are pretty close to being similar. You will notice that the time difference to bring it into Heidel is 25 minutes and 42 seconds. So for the nearly 4-minute difference and having a Heidel worker pick up these nodes for me and not have to worry about transporting or moving material around, to me it's like night and day. I'd rather have a little bit less proc and have that material in one spot than move it all around. And I even went ahead, I went and grabbed a Artisan Human, the fastest one I have in Velia, my apologies, and it does have farm knowledge. So I went to Heidel and grabbed my fastest Heidel worker then in human, and this one does have farm knowledge as well, and it's 104.79 with 5.01 and 103.13 with 4.46. So the worker in itself in Heidel is a little bit better in stat wise than the Artisan Human worker in Velia, but you can see the Velia human worker 23 minutes and 10 seconds and the Heidel human worker 29 minutes and 33 seconds. So 6-minute difference. It's not gonna be game busting. Like, you'll pick up a little bit of additional material, but once again, the convenience factor of it and having just everything coming into a main hub is what makes it break for me and why I choose to go that route. So, and it is like that for multiple different nodes. If you go across and you stop your node network and you kind of break down your workers' times and you kind of look at them and you move them around from node to node, you'll notice that the difference from sending them from Heidel to Velia isn't that significant. So it's actually a pretty nice trade-off. So to continue in Heidel, the other nodes that we end up picking up is Northern Heidel Quarry for the copper ore and iron ore, Alejandro Farm for cooking honey. We move over to Lynch Farm Ruins for the Trace of Savagery, Trace of Hunting, and our Silver Azalea. Then we will move over to Northern Plain of Serendia for Maple Timber, and we'll go up to Lynch Ranch for our Fleece and Knitting Yarn. Now to head down a little bit, we'll pick up Costa Farm for our wheat, Northern Senaga for dwarf mushrooms, Moretti Plantation for our wheat, and we'll come down into Castle Ruins for our maple table timber and maple sap. Then we actually branch off a little bit, we come over to Mediah and send hideout workers from Mediah to pick up our Shuri farm for our sweet potato, high quality potato, and special sweet potato. A very good node, nice potato return to increase that beer production to help you be self-sustaining. So now to move on to Glish. So it's still in the Serendia area, but we do have a couple workers that are down here collecting some additional material for us. So Glish right now at the moment, we are picking up Glish ruins for the Trace of Origin. This is a little bit of an expensive node, but the value of Trace of Origin, the availability of it is pretty hard. And considering that we do a lot of alchemy, having that Trace of Origin coming in passively is nice. We're picking up Serendia Shrine for Pine Timber, picking up Iron Ore and Cloud Mushrooms from Southern Sanaga, and Glitch Swamp, we're going for the Lead Ore and Cloud Mushrooms. And we do have our production down here, making Balenos fishing rods as one of our incomes. And once that's all said and done, that is our main hub for producing cooking utensils as well as alchemy utensils. Now, the cloud mushrooms in themselves are not a significant factor for myself. The reason that we're picking them up currently right now at the moment is to actually level up Glish workers for the new region, to be ready for that, as the distance to the new region with these Glish workers should be a little bit faster than picking up newer workers in Dragon and sending them. So the cloud mushrooms, we will potentially get rid of them later on, but right now we're utilizing them to level up some of our Glish workers. So now to move on to Calpheon. So Calpheon is another big town where, before I forget, hideout, our workers, the lodging that we're utilizing is actually right here. Room 11, 12, 13, and 14. This is the best contribution investment for lodging in hideout in itself. Now, where we're picking up our additional workers is right here at 7-3. We're picking up additional 4 workers. Now, the reason we're doing this is I do have hideout 1-1 for my main cooking house, as it's very convenient next to storage, and pretty much everybody has this house for cooking and alchemy. But we needed an additional house to put all of our house buffs in. So 7-2 was a decent house to actually pick this up. And actually, for the additional 4 workers, if you look at selling all of this, I can sell all this for 4 contribution. So 4 contribution for 4 workers, it's 1-to-1 ratio. It's actually pretty decent to pick up additional workers and additional house if hideout is one of your main hubs. All right, now to move on to Calpheon. So Calpheon is another big town. We actually have 24 workers in Calpheon. And where we're getting the lodging for this, and the best investment lodging, is actually on the outside of Calpheon. Most people end up missing this because you zoom in and kind of zoom out a little bit and you're looking for lodging, and a lot of people miss it at the bottom of their screen. So Calpheon Southgate 1, 2, and 2-2 is actually your best contribution investment for lodging. Outside of that, if you go to Gabino Farm, you're picking up some storage space on the way out to it, but it is a level 5 lodging, so you're actually picking up 8 workers, and you check the sale condition, it's 7 CP for 8 workers. Very good contribution investment for lodging. Then where I'm picking up my additional lodging, because I do costume making in Calpheon, because I do have a +3 costume crafter here, is right here at Market Street, 7-3, 7-4, 7-6 into 7-3 one floor, 7-4 second floor, into 7-6 into 7-6 second floor. Another decent amount of lodging for a costume as well, costume shop as well. Now, this might not be the most logical way of contribution investment for lodging in Calpheon in itself. Well, like I mentioned, it is something that I utilize because I do do my costume crafting in Calpheon, because Calpheon is my main processing town. And for myself, picking up this this connection as well as the costume mill was worth it to me for the contribution investment. So Calpheon, what we're ended up picking up with our workers is quite a bit. We are picking up 3 tree ruins for our birch timber and tiger mushrooms, picking up Bernadio farm for our trace of forest and trace of battle, northern wheat plantation for our barley, our paprika, and our wheat, Rudo cave for tin ore, old dandelion for birch timber, Flint hill for our birch timber as well as lead ore, and we're coming over here to Oz Pass for cedar timber. We'll come down a little bit here, Funnel's cabin for fir timber, Bear Riverhead for tin ore, and Rudum Outstation for tin ore. We're also moving over into a more CP investment streak here. Not many people have this, but root tree stub for emperor mushrooms and trace of forest. Maria cave for pine timber as well as the pine sap and ghost mushrooms. Then we're picking up hexstone wall for the iron ore. On top of all of this that we're picking up, we're actually sending 3 of our workers out to our fish nodes. Actually, it might be 4. Oh, it is 3. So 3 of our workers from Calpheon are actually coming out and picking up our fish nodes. I can get those exact nodes to you. Find them really quick. So one node is Roundus Island. The other node is Shirka Island. And the last node we're picking up is Bayaza Island. So all artisan goblins. And again, a lot of people are going to say, hey, you know, why aren't you investing the contribution into Port Euphoria for this? Well, one, we actually had the additional lodging. We could have backed lodging out in Calpheon, but it really wasn't worth it. And same thing as Heidel, actually. If you look at the time difference between some workers, we'll pull this back up again. From Port Euphoria to Calpheon, the difference is a little bit more, but it isn't as significant as one would think. So the one artisan goblin that I have in Port Euphoria, and we'll get to that in a minute, doesn't have the greatest skills. We're still rolling it, not getting really that lucky with this worker, and it has a time of 1 hour and 25 minutes, 1 hour and 26 minutes. Has a work speed of 149.08 and a movement speed of 7.79. And on the same node with a goblin worker from Calpheon, and the skills in itself are a little bit better, but the work speed and the movement speed are actually, well, the work speed is less, the movement speed is less as well. The Calpheon worker is only an hour and let's say 35 minutes. So the 10-minute difference, yes, it will stack up over time where I would potentially get a little bit more fish, but the output of the fish that we're getting is just more than you'll actually ever consume. And on top of that, the convenience factor. I used to only send all my Calpheon workers to pick up all these fish nodes, but with the release of the lodging in the Pearl Shop for the Euphoria workers, we ended up converting a little bit of those additional workers to picking up additional mushroom nodes as well as lead ore nodes, and ended up utilizing the 3 additional workers in Euphoria to pick up some additional out there. So since we were just talking about Euphoria, we'll swing over here real quick. So Port Euphoria, it's a shame. Still working on it, trying to roll workers, having really bad luck trying to get some professionals and artisans here, but having them running, because it's better to have something running here than absolutely nothing running at all. So as you can see, one of our guys in a promotion test, so hopefully he actually procs. If he doesn't, he's only level 23. We're going to end up firing him, hopefully rolling and getting lucky and actually be getting another professional, and probably leveling up this guy, see if we can hit him to professional. But these 4 workers are picking up our additional fish drag nodes for Albrahaza Island, Marauder Island, and Rondas Island. And this guy, I believe, came off of Marauder Island for this node right here. So currently we don't have anything on this node because we do have a worker promoting, unfortunately. But until we get that, that's going to be kind of what continuously happens until we get those workers to artisan. To move on to Kaplan. We're utilizing a couple workers here, and we do have 3 out of 4 lodging. It is one thing that I have to utilize, but Kaplan is kind of a low priority for myself. Port Euphoria is more important, as well as Glitch and leveling up workers, than trying to get this worker up to artisan. But the professional goblin in itself has rolled really excellent skills, so he's actually producing quite a bit. But eventually I want to make him a artisan human for the additional stamina. So we're picking up actually 3 nodes here, and you can see it here: Gluttony Cave, Primal Giant Post, and Captain Quarry. So we're picking up Captain Quarry here for the coal. We're getting Gluttony Cave for the coal, and we're sending 1 worker down to Primal Giant Post for that lead ore. Now to move over to Trent, we're picking up a couple nodes here in Trent. We have 4 workers currently in Trent, and what they're actually doing is picking up the additional nodes in Calpheon that is faster to have them sent from Trent than to have workers sent from Calpheon. So we're picking up Lumberjack Rest for the Cedar Timber, Longleaf Tree Forest for the Cedar Timber. We're also picking up Trent Forest for the Fir Timber, and Mancha Forest for the Fir Timber and Fir Sap. The 1 node we actually did miss that we're sending a worker from Calpheon to is Mancha Forest for Trace of Despair and Trace of Violence. And many will say, hey, you know, what is the point of having this node? They're kind of pointless traces besides the Trace of Violence. If you've noticed, as the game has progressed, traces have become more and more valuable, and have slowly become kind of scarce in time. So traces that really weren't selling on the market are starting to sell, besides Trace of Hunting and Trace of Despair. As time goes on, I have a feeling that the traces will be implemented for future crafts as more content gets released. So picking up these additional trace nodes to start stockpiling those materials, even if they have no value now, at least we'll have that material if they ever do become of a value at one point in time. So we're going to skip Grana for now, and we're going to move all the way over to Mediah. So Mediah in itself is a very expensive region to invest contribution in. There isn't many things in Mediah that really is worth investing into unless you have high CP and you're looking at investing into more material. Same can be said about Valencia, but we'll get to that shortly. So in Mediah, what we're actually picking up, and the most important node that I see picking up, is Stonetail Wasteland for the Acacia Timber, as there is only 1 Acacia node in the game. Very limited supply of this material, and very good for a couple of different items for selling either on the market or turning it into crates. The other nodes we're picking up is Ancient Fissure for our zinc ore, Ancient Ruins Excavation Site for the Trace of Earth. We'll move over a little bit to Omar Lava Cave for the zinc ore and additional coal. Move down to Abandoned Iron Mine for the iron ore and the zinc. Now there is additional material here for like Powder of Time, Platinum Ore. They do have value, as well as Powder of Darkness and Rough Black Crystal, but we don't really want to get too in depth with the material that we're looking at for what uses. And as a reminder, look down in the description below for that Google document, which will explain to you all the material that we're grabbing and what we're utilizing it on. So to move to Valencia now. So Valencia does have a lot of nodes, and some of these nodes really aren't worth the contribution investment and are actually very expensive. So there are some nodes out here that can be utilized for cooking, such as teff and nutmeg. Some out here in Valencia as the pistachio, palm, freeca, and more pistachio, date palm. And some people pick up the titanium and vanadium up here, but the amount of contribution that you're going to invest into getting up to these nodes is actually very significant for the return of those nodes. So if you are invested into that, I'd really look at uninvesting into those nodes and looking at other things that you can pick up, such as additional timber or traces, instead of being invested in those, because the output for the CP investment is very low. Palm forest, we're not invested into this anymore. The palm timber market is pretty significant. It's pretty flooded right now. We can actually pull that up real quick, where you can see there's 86,000 on the market, and there's palm planks, palm plywood. It can be utilized to feed protection stones if you really are into upgrading your own alchemy stones. It's selling them on the market, or if you're just looking for a protection stone of yourself. The one thing that does sell on these nodes is coconut, which has a value in itself still, but we uninvested into this a while ago because just the palm timber wasn't selling anymore, and we're not into alchemy stones. Still good nodes to pick up if you're into that, but we uninvested into it. And the only node we're actually invested into in Valencia is Kamasylvia, which is for the copper and rough opal. This node in itself is a high value copper ore node. If you were to pick any copper ore node in the game, I would highly suggest getting this one, as the output that you're going to get out of it is pretty significant. And you can utilize the one free worker that you get in Sand Grain Bazaar. You don't have to invest into any kind of lodging at all. You can invest, it's just the one free worker that you get, and you don't have to go into buying the lodging or anything like that. It's literally free. So, okay, now to move to Kamasylvia. So, Kamasylvia, we are invested into a couple things for future investment. The ones that I'm going to discuss really quick, and it's not many, the Lake Flounder for knock ore. The big one is Powder of Earth. Powder of Earth does have a lot of usage for crafting, based in costumes as well as horse gear. And the knock ore is useful, but not so much right now. There is a knock ingot crate that hopefully we get in future patches, which sells for a pretty decent amount. And we're kind of stockpiling that knock ore. As you can see, we have it down here, and we have it in Hollow Forest as well. Stockpiling that knock ore. That way, whenever that does come out, we have a stockpile, and we can either process that material and sell it on the market, or potentially get into crates. And yes, with that said, we are not invested into crates at all. And we'll get into detail in a couple minutes on that. Then the other node we have is Tooth Fairy Forest for the Trace of Forest. Another trace that has a high value, and the output of this node is pretty decent. The other thing we were invested into is the Strawberry node, as well as the Shady Tree Forest node, which we are going to invest back into one of these to level up workers in Old Wisdom Tree. And same thing as Glitch as before. The path in Dragon is there. You can go over into Dragon from over here, and there's a couple nodes right in this area, which are quite a bit closer distance-wise than the main town. And depending on the contribution of lodging in Dragon, it might be a wise choice to level up some workers in Old Wisdom and be ready for that release That way you can invest the contribution and get right onto those nodes with some leveled up workers, and it might actually be of higher value to send some workers from Old Wisdom Tree to a couple of these nodes than sending them to, say, Shady Tree Forest or Freddy's Cabin for the strawberries. And that is pretty much it. The worker network that I have is pretty extensive. We do have 99 workers currently right now at the moment. Most of these are going at all times. Most of them are artisans. And to discuss kind of the workers that we have, we do have mainly a lot of artisan goblins and artisan humans. Now, this is a whole debate, and some people say, hey, you know, you want certain workers for certain nodes because of the output. When it really comes down to is kind of your life choices. If you're gone for like 8 to 10 hours a day, you can't remote in to feed those workers. You want those, and you're somebody that leaves your computer on at night because you're sleeping. You're really gonna want to invest into artisan humans, if not even potentially artisan giants. And people give you a bunch of crap for artisan giants, but there's really nothing wrong with them. The only time you really start looking at artisan goblins for a lot of nodes, and like we do have a lot of artisan goblins, is if you're away if you only like sleep, or if you're only away like anywhere from like 5 to 6 hours, because a lot of the cycle times are going to be very quick with the goblins, and you only have 15 stamina. And if you have downtime of 4 hours, 5 hours of these workers, you're just not getting the value out of them. So you really have to take a look at how long you're going to be away from the computer, how long you actually want to be in front of the computer, and how much you want to manage these workers. If you don't want to have beer in every town and making sure your workers are up every couple hours, then even if you have high active time and it's just a nuisance to you, like if you get on and you just want to feed them once and go out and grind, not have to worry about it, same thing. I would suggest humans and giants for yourself, and avoid the goblins, because you're going to have a higher maintenance upkeep on those goblins. The only time that you really want goblins is for nodes for like your traces, for example. Your trace nodes are typically going to be an hour and up, even with a very good goblin worker, as well as your fish nodes. Same thing with a very good goblin worker, it's going to be an hour up. So those goblins are going to last you 15 hours. And if other than that, like unless you have a very active time and you're around the computer quite a bit, humans and giants are perfectly fine. And really, like I said, it's about your uptime and what you see of value, and looking to min-max around that. It's better to have a more active worker constantly running while you're AFK than have him not working, of course. So guys, that's pretty much it. I know it was kind of quick and fast. Like I said, there is going to be a Google Doc down below for what we're utilizing those materials for, and we'll look to work on that as well, some more in-depth details on that Google document. And anything that you guys want to ask, leave it in the comments down below, and we can look to maybe go into more details on a region by region video, if that is something that you guys would like to see, on kind of why I'm utilizing certain workers. And like I said, it's based like I'm utilizing these workers based on my uptime, but we can kind of go into detail about it a little bit, and we can go into detail region by region why I am deciding to pick up that material and what I'm utilizing that for, if that is something you guys want to see. And I will also leave my Twitch stream link down below, and you guys feel free, stop by, ask any questions, come hang out with us, and don't forget to hit the sub button down below for our YouTube channel so you guys can keep up to date with any new videos that are coming out. And we'll be streaming here in the next couple of days, more than likely tomorrow, if by the time this video goes up. And hopefully we'll see you guys there, and I'll talk to you guys then. Have a good day, stay safe, and hopefully this guys helped you guys. Have a good one.